Oh, that's funny when I think about
We're
it like that.
streaming now. We're live.
Well, we're almost there. Well, we may be live. Heck, I
We
don't.
just said we were.
Yeah, we are. But now, now we are. Good morning, everybody.
Morning, everybody.
Mark was sending me a couple of pictures, so we were just a couple minutes late, but that's okay.
Have we
Yeah.
had
Morning, Chuck. Good morning. Hey, Carol. Good morning. Good morning, Tina. I said Chuck. Good morning, Brenda.
good morning, Miss Carol. Good morning, Miss Brenda. Tina, Miss Tina.
We
Mr.
were.
Chuck, Mr. Chuck. Do we
Mr.
have are we gonna have Mr. Dave on again today?
Oh, I wish
Since
he
we're
was.
talking about fish.
If he knew, he probably would be. Actually, Mr. Dave had to go out. He's working today. He's
Oh,
he said he had to go out of town for some kind of thing they were doing this week in North Carolina. No, maybe North Georgia actually at Blue Ridge Lake down there. They were doing some kind of training thing for has something to do with the project he's been working on, and he's trying to finish up before he leaves.
there's Mr. Francisco too.
Hey, Francisco, and Mr. Dave will be leaving the company and agency in
September, he said.
into September. Yeah, bear with me, everybody. I'm gonna try to multi-func task here. Just
There's Miss Kay too. By
hey,
God,
hey, good morning.
they're all pouring in. All 8 of our listeners.
Oh, that's right. Proud of it too. They are loyal supporters.
There's Dave. Good morning.
Which Dave's in here?
Disney Dreams.
Morning, Dave. Dave.
Holly Oxen Free.
Wait a minute. What's that for? I can't remember. Oh, here's my wife brought me emergency. Thank you.
Rations.
Hang on just a minute. Let me mute the tape.
Probably brought him a little Debbie survival snack.
Okay, we're back. So Brenda don't answer anybody. She's up. She just came up to the library. She's headed
bring
back
you a
down.
little Debbie survival snack.
No, she brought me a little Dr. Feel Good nerve pill for my leg.
Who has become Big Deborah? I don't know if you've seen that or not.
I'm not sure if I have. I think I have.
Little Debbie's growed up. Now she's Big Deborah.
If we were to get too many people, you guys are going to need bigger teepee. Well, that's a good point, Tina. And the biggest teepee I've ever seen, I think, was a 28-footer.
Which was enormous.
It was so big.
And you could put a lot of folk in it.
A lot of folk. You could put a lot more folk than we got in it. That thing was so big that you remember this? They actually had bunk beds in that thing
Yeah.
Because it was big enough that you could put.
Was that the guy that always had all the furs and hides?
I think so. It seems like
he had a huge family, and
yeah,
I think they built like an extra large lodge, and we slept 6 or 8 people in a 16-footer. So
yeah, but probably not nearly as comfortable as they were.
Right.
We had 6 people in there, but we had them laid strategically, which was not a problem because we still had a fire in the middle.
Exactly.
And that thing was so. But you're right about the furs. I'd forgotten about the furs, but they had a big family, and I mean that was the biggest lodge I'd ever seen. And
yeah, they had like 10 kids or something.
Huh?
They had like 10 kids.
Something like that, yeah. and they had bunk beds in it. And the reason that's significant, guys, is a teepee has slanted walls, so if you put something as tall as a bunk bed, you can't get it real close to the wall of a teepee or the tent because you can't be touching on the canvas or the material. So if you had a normal size like a 16-foot lodge, like we're talking, like we might have or had, his dad had, that bunk bed would be sitting about in the middle of the fire pit because you couldn't get it too close to the wall. But that thing had such vertical walls because it was so big. They could get away with that. Man, it was huge.
I can still remember seeing you like looking at me and grinning and wiping your hand down the canvas right over my bed when it was pouring the rain.
I wouldn't do that. Surely I wouldn't have done that. Dave said if you get more people, you'll need super duper Dunkin' Donut shop. That's true too. Good point, Dave. Oh my!
Oh my goodness gracious!
My leg. Sorry guys. If I'm twitching around and moving a lot today, it's because for some reason my leg is really aggravating me, and it's not hard. It's not pain or intense pain. It's just aggravating pain, But what's really aggravating is it feels like it's. I don't know how to explain it. It feels like electricity kind of is buzzing through it, kind of like a low voltage back.
It's got the creepy crawling, heebity jeebities.
Yeah, and it just feels like it wants to jump off my body and kick somebody or something all the time. Funny thing, I watched a video. There's a gal that Phil told me about. She's from Georgia and she does motorcycle videos and she really does a good job. She had an accident back at the beginning of the summer, and I just thought she just released a video this morning about her healing process, and it's taken her. She's really bummed out because it's taken her all summer to heal. But one of the problems she's got is one of the same problems I've got: a gigantic hematoma in her leg around her knee area that won't heal up. I thought, well, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one. I didn't mean to wish her any ill health, but glad I'm not the only one. But I don't know how to describe it. That plus that and the nerve damage don't help any.
Well, I got kicked in the upper right thigh by a yearling steer one day. And then later on in that afternoon, I got kicked in the exact same spot by a big old cow, big old adult cow.
Yeah.
And my whole leg turned black.
Oh, that's fun.
And my wife was certain that my femur was broken. And I mean, it just, it went from purple to green to yellow to gross and it just traveled down my leg all the way to my ankle. So she finally talked me into going to the doctor 4 or 5 days after the fact, and I said, "Well, Doc, is it broken?" And he goes, "No, but that's the worst bruise I've ever seen in my
life." How long did it take that to heal up?
I don't think that thing faded out for 4 or 5 months, maybe.
Anytime you got to think about it that
he
long.
was always like, I need you to come in like once a month at minimum because I know how you are. But I need you to come in and so we can make sure like blood flow's happening normally, that you don't have a clot going on or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of worried about because mine is just now starting. Brenda said yesterday that mine has finally turned. Now the whole leg's not black anymore, and black and blue and purple and yellow.
That's from your motorcycle jump off the deck. into the yellow jacket nest.
Not motorcycle on
Well,
it.
I know, but you thought it was.
Yeah, my Evil Knievel replication.
You're Evil Knievel jumping I'm watch. Hey, here, hold my beer and watch this.
I wish that probably wouldn't have hurt near as bad if I'd had a couple of beers. No, but she said it. That's been what 6 months ago now, or what? When was
It's
it?
been that long?
It's like last October almost, or something. Yeah, it's been that long, and it's still not really healed. But she said it's finally starting to look halfway normal color wise, but I've still got a big old knot there where the blood pool is, and it still hurts, and it's I wrap it and do things that they told me to do, but I probably ought to be icing it more. Maybe that would help. I don't know, but it's and the funny, interesting
Well,
thing.
remember we used to have this treatment for stuff like that called lancing.
Yeah, well, that's the thought. I've asked about having it drained, no kidding, and they said that the doctor that we talked to, and we as in my doctor and a specialist that she knows who actually gave me some little advice free of charge. I think maybe not, but he didn't want to land. He said draining it. He's not had much luck with draining hematomas like this, so I don't know what that means in the long run. But I know it's.
I ought to go away one of these days.
Well, yeah, but I'm going to go away one day too.
Your leg will just fall off or something.
Well, that's possible. Sometimes I almost wish.
I'll make you a really cool peg.
You do that. Let's talk about that. What
we're going to have a skull at the top of it. It's going to be a combination of like mahogany and ivory.
Oh, cool. That will be cool. Hell, now you almost got me wanting it. That's not a good thought, but man, I tell you what, there's days when I wish I could take it off for a little while.
They planted a tree for my father-in-law when he passed away, and
right,
and the moose killed it, and I took it's a the heck is it, crab apple, so yeah. It's hard, and I took I need to finish it up. I'm gonna put a ebony cap on the top of it. But
I see the face. There's a face.
Carved the face into it.
Hold your hand up behind it right there.
I'm trying to
down. Oh, right there. Oh, now that's much better. There's like a beam of light coming in right through the window. There you go. Wow.
Yeah, so I carved this face in it.
That's cool.
And I'm gonna put a black, like ebony cap on top of it. It's for my wife's walking stick. So.
Oh, that's cool. So that tree is. Did they replant?
Anyway, it. We'll carve something similar like that for your peg.
Cool. Okay, it's been a long process. But what I don't know if this is encouraging. Not encouraging, but it's knowing I ain't the only one. I mean, watching Doodle. That's what she goes by on her show. Her show's called Doodle on a Motorcycle, which must be a thing now because I also watched this channel called Flying Doodle or Doodle Flying, which apparently is hosted by different people. Currently, it's a young lady, but Doodle must mean something like that now to people. But anyway, she's been 4 or 5 months now, and hers is still not completely healed. So, mine's not the only one. I don't want to tell her. I'd hate to write her and tell her, well, it might take a year because mine's still trying to heal up. But Anyway. Oh, I'm sorry, Tina. You know what? I always forget to do that. Maybe next time I'll remember to make him big. We'll show it again sometime. The I always don't. I never think to do that. See, that's why I'm not. That's why I'm not a big giant professional, studio kind of show or anything because I forget things like that. Oh, merciful heavens! I wish my leg would quit hurting. My foot feels like it wants to walk away. It'd heal faster if you drink more. Oh, you think that? Oh, well, I can fix that. I can start today. You didn't say
Is
what.
that water or brown
Yeah,
liquor?
that's what. Maybe I should ask what. I mean, hell, I'd rather drink brown liquor if that's the case.
Or even clear liquor.
There you go. Who's gonna get that?
Your choice. Go up to that place that Steve was talking about where the buzzard nest was at.
Meet the harnesses.
Where the short neck harnesses lived. My 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 beautiful bride was like, that guy talked slower than any human I've ever heard in my life.
And I'm
like, yeah, and he's a super genius.
Yeah, he is. And I've known him for 35 years now, 40. Let's see, 30 years anyway. And well, happy Saturday, T-Town, Mary Ellen.
I've always said that's what, like Southerners. It doesn't matter what your IQ is. You can have a 180 IQ, but if you talk like us,
people don't believe you.
You're just like, what an idiot that guy is.
What an idiot. Anyway, in Steve's case, now I've known him for 30 years, and he's never really talked much faster than that. I think he slowed down a step or two because he's just, having other problems. But he's not changed a whole lot. When he gets in, he's the kind of guy that when he gets in full storytelling mode, you might be there a while. It'll be worth it.
Which is going to be fine.
But he don't
I told her I could listen to him all day long, and it makes me comfortable.
Maybe I need to go over and sit down and talk to him in his house.
And she was like, I can't believe people talk that slow. And I'm like, well, we did. Yeah.
We do.
I have to tell my daughters all the time, would you please slow down talking? I can't hear that fast.
Wait a minute. Dave said, some say whiskey got my ears. Well, I don't know if I follow that, Dave. You may have to explain that. That may be a term that you got from Michigan or Florida. See, us folks may not understand that. That made me think of something you said.
Gunpowder got my ears.
Yeah. Well, yeah, mine. Gunpowder. Actually, turbine engines got mine. I know what got mine. Well, mostly. Gunpowder didn't help, probably, but
no, it didn't.
Standing around too many turbine engines. I guess if you'd worn hearing protection 24/7, not 24/7, but 8 hours a day constantly, you'd been all right. But you can't always work in them. And you never know when somebody's going to pull up in front of your hangar door and make all that screaming, whining noise that, So by the time you went and got your ear protection, they'd have it shut down, and the damage was already done by then. Not to mention all that constant low frequency noise that came out of airliners taking off and landing. I read later in years that low frequency probably did about as much damage as the high pitch stuff did.
Seriously.
That's what I've read. It because it's just it just hits a different part of your hearing.
Right.
I never have totally understood the concept of what they call it, tinnitus in your
Yeah.
ear that makes the ringing. But
I hear it every day.
you know what? I tried to tell Brenda said something about that one day to me. She was talking about some whine she was hearing. I said, I don't. What do you mean? And she said, well, it sounds like. And I said, well, I said that's it. I said that's the sound I hear constantly, 24/7.
Right.
And now you know what it sounds like. Tell us about my screen name tonight. Okay. Well, we're going to talk about fish, and we can thank, or you guys can thank Dave for this, because Dave got me thinking about it last week. He wants to go out to visit Mark, and he wants to go cutthroat trout fishing, among other things. But that's the which I have an interesting story to tell about that later in the show. But so I'm going to say this my way.
Onkarankus.
Uncle Rankus, yeah, that's how I was going to say it. Uncle Rankus is the name of a certain
It's a genera of trout.
genera. Yeah, I was trying to make sure I said that part right. Of trout species, and they're cutthroat. That's the family that cutthroats are in, or not the family, the genera, the genus name. So I just put it on there. I didn't go to the trouble of getting the definition of it. I think he's a bit whiny. Thanks. Brenda, was that a whine or whine that you were hearing? And what's the line from the movie? I'm surrounded by a host of friends. I think that's from a John Wayne movie, actually. Oh, it is. It's James Caan in the El Dorado. He says that because they're all giving him crap about his hat.
Oh yeah, he wore that little flat top.
Yeah. I can be a bit whiny, I guess, at times, but
as we all can be.
Anyway, I don't know what I was telling now. Oh, well,
I didn't about Onkarankus.
Yeah, so I didn't go in and get all the break it down into Greek or Latin or whatever Onkarankus came from. But basically, and I'll show you a picture of some Onkarankus here in a few minutes. But anyway, so we're talking about I started talking about the fish. I just thought I've done fish in the east, and especially in the Tennessee River system, and I was going to do something about just the fish in the west, different species, because of what Dave got me thinking about. And then I thought, well, hell, I'll just focus a little bit closer to home, and I'm kind of sticking with some stuff in Wyoming because that's where he's going to go. They want to go fishing. They want to go out and visit Mark, and then since last week's conversation, and when Dave brought that up, I think he and I haven't talked hardly at all in the last 4 or 5 years, and I believe we've talked about that 4 or 5 times since then. So he's really excited about it. My favorite quote is, "Oh, my God, in a limited universe." That line comes from the British crime series Midsummer Murders. And one of the main detectives on there gets picked to be the judge in a cricket match, and he finds out that particular position in a cricket match is all what the hell they say omni. Anyway, his word goes, and so he told his wife. He said he was sort of enjoying playing God in a limited universe. Which was actually quite funny if you knew the show. I'm going to have to find that show. I'll have to find that one, Brendan. We'll have to go back and watch it. Anyway, so that's how come we're talking about fish today. And maybe you think, well, we've talked about fish before, but we hadn't talked about these fish. And Mark and I just talked about 2 more fish. And in fact, yeah, I did. I added a slide just for that. And I'm gonna go ahead and throw this up on the screen while we finish or run through a little more BS. And I didn't, I could have gone. There's no one of those things where I could have spent days on this and days probably talking about it if we really want to get serious about it. So we're not getting that serious. So we're going to look at some fish and we're going to talk about some personal views on such matters. Mark has an interesting perspective, not this perspective. He lives with one of the fish. A fish biologist. We used to refer to them as fish heads, and that actually they used to refer to themselves as fish heads.
And they
And
call them squeezers too, fish squeezers.
squeezers. That's not bad. I like that.
Well, I
They,
mean, you know, if you work at the hatchery, you're a fish squeezer.
well, that makes, and that's because, in case you don't know, guys,
You're milking eggs and
yeah, they
sperm.
milk the fish that they're raising there, and they squeeze out the eggs and such when they're when they're artificially spawning them. And I won't even go into all the details of what they squeezed out of the other one. But anyway, well, we're all adults in here. We got paper signed that
I already said it. So
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
I didn't even think about it.
I'm kidding mostly, but yeah, what Mark said. Anyway, I never thought about them calling them fish squeezers. That's a good term though. They I don't know where the term fish head came from my former place of employment, but they and I could probably say it. It doesn't really matter. But one of the things, I don't know if you tell me if you ever met any people that were fish heads or squeezers. They were not necessarily squeezers. These are field people, not fisheries. What's that term? Hatchery people. Um, Somewhere over the years of being out collecting specimens and fish and electroshocking and running gill nets and God knows what, somebody started finding and picking up and bringing back, putting in the boat, the heads of doll, which could be what fish head thing. Because out along creek,
That is not right.
well, I didn't say it was right. But if you went to their boat they'd usually have two or three of them there, kind of like a masthead or something, and you didn't take them out. That was bad luck apparently. But you walk a creek or two, you find that kind of stuff washed up and along the banks where they've been washed out of a dump or out of somebody's house or a backyard. And usually it's not the whole doll. It's usually the doll head is more common than the whole doll. And they collected those things, and they had to. I mean, it's kind of you think Kelly's art is macabre? I mean, it's kind of weird, but they have all these doll heads of various sizes, and like I said, they, if they're out collecting and they find one, they put it in the boat, and then it stays in the boat. It's important to them, and I'm not sure even they understand where it came.
What goes in the boat stays in the boat.
Yeah, I'm not sure they even understood the.
So my counterpart in fisheries, who I love like a brother, but he's a fish guy.
Hey, there's another we got the other Dave with us. Good morning, Dave.
I took a big sucker's head one day.
That's a fish.
They had chopped a bunch of suckers up for bait. And they failed to pick up a big head out of the garage floor at our office. So I took it out and put it on the antenna of his vehicle. Just slipped it over the end of the antenna of his vehicle. And our two office managers borrowed that vehicle that afternoon to go to a meeting in grizzly bear country. And I'm
Hey,
like, oh no, I'm trying to call them and like, you got to get rid of that fish head. You're going to have a bear on your car. You
you
got
gotta
to,
be careful about these
before
things.
you get up to grizzly bear country, you need to get rid of that fish head.
Indeed. And don't just put it in the back of the
And
car.
they were like, gee, thanks.
Well, it wasn't meant
Because
for them.
it'd probably been on there for like a week by that point.
Oh, I was getting ready. I was getting ready to ask if they left it on there till it was nothing but a bleached skull.
No, they pulled over and took it off, and I'm like, you need to get rid of that.
I'm a little bit.
And they
I'm a
didn't
little,
like touching it.
oh, I bet. I'm a little bit surprised they didn't know, or either that or bemused that they didn't see it when they got in the car. But I guess everybody didn't look around and kind of
The
inspect
antenna
the
was
vehicle.
like on the. It was a like an exploder, like a Ford
Oh, so it was
Exploder.
up on top.
So the antenna was on top,
Ah, okay.
and I had just bent it over and slipped that on there, and so it was kind of sitting on the roof of the vehicle. And I'm like, God dang, there's going to be a bear. There's going to be a grizzly bear get on top of that car and trash it.
You come back and there's a grizzly sitting there munching on the fish head.
Anyway,
Oh, that's just
the things people do.
and wildlife humor can probably be is different. It can be a little bit anyway. Um, you'd be surprised what people might bring in to show and tell. You know what I mean?
Nobody would ever go in my office ever, because I usually have at least one rattlesnake in there,
Well, that's one reason.
and not crawling around in a tank, but that was close enough for them.
But still, it was in the tank.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I saw another little short video this morning of another huge eastern diamondback. And
Well,
this
that's
thing
cool that they're still existing.
that there's still big ones out there. They're not all been chopped up and killed. This thing, it was not a 10-footer, but it was probably 6+. And it was in a field of kind of
that big around.
that big around. And big old head the size of my fist or hand. I swear. And a set of rattles about this long.
Yeah.
They were in Florida, which is where they're along the East Coast, and there might be some on the Gulf Coast, although I'm not positive. But there's a lot of more in Florida, in places where they hadn't already,
I don't know if they get to Mississippi and Alabama, or if they're just in the Panhandle there.
Well, I'm not sure.
They're real abundant, or they're not real abundant anywhere anymore, but
No.
they're probably the highest densities of them is in that Panhandle portion of Florida.
Yeah, could be. And I know there's some over around like the Dismal Swamp coast side of the Carolinas, but I don't know. They don't come up this way. They don't get this far north or anything, and I don't know how far they go to the west of that area. And I don't know if they get as big. That's the other thing. They seem to be bigger.
I don't think they get much above like Lejeune and Cherry Point and all the Marine Corps bases over there.
That sounds about right.
Kind of in southeast.
Well, anyway, that's what was scary.
North Carolina.
Yeah, something like that.
But they need sand and gopher tortoises.
Or armadillos. They were this one.
Or armadillos.
They were looking. Maybe they were looking for it, but it was in like grass, laid down dry grass, where it just like a field, a wintertime field. How they get
right.
and you couldn't. Man, that thing was laying right there within 10 feet of them, where had the camera on it. And I swear you could not see that snake, and it was huge laying there in that grass. It just blended, and
Yeah.
it wasn't rattling at that point, and it didn't. When it started going back towards the armadillo burrow to get escape, which it wanted to escape, but then it turned around and said, "But I ain't gonna escape if you guys keep following me with that camera." It got a little bit more serious, but man, that thing,
That's a bad mamba jamba.
yeah,
That's a bad. They got bad venom, and they got a lot of it.
a lot of it. And they hit. I always knew people who'd been around them and exposed and perhaps bitten. Not only that, but when they hit you, they hit so hard because they're so big and muscular. When they strike, people that experienced this told me that they could just about knock you down. I mean, it was like somebody punched you just as hard as they could
Yeah.
in the leg or something. And so you got it in several ways. But man, those are big old rascals.
Well, I
They're
mean, it's the world's largest rattlesnake by
yeah,
far.
by
But
far.
western diamondbacks get pretty goddamn big too, but eastern diamondbacks are spooky
Do
big.
westerns get as big around as easterns do?
Well,
Because
remember, I think you were with me when I found a big red colored one over on the Gray Ranch one day, and it was it was that big around, but it was the biggest western diamondback I'd ever seen by far, like by a foot.
I think I remember that. We
I
found
have photos of it. That was a big old snake.
we found several, and we found blacktails. We used to find a
I
few,
love that. That's the coolest rattlesnake ever.
and they weren't.
Well,
I mean,
I like timber rattlesnakes too, but
yeah, which are nasty in their own right.
yeah,
I mean,
they
nasty,
got a nasty old venom too.
yeah, they do. They're just ornery. I mean, they can be that way. I don't know why,
And
but
bad tempered like
bad, yeah.
prairie rattlesnakes are always bad tempered too. And western diamondbacks are generally pretty.
Maybe we should just say diamondbacks in general. I
Yeah,
think.
I don't know. I've never been around easterns. I don't know what their temperament is.
Well, no, I don't either. It's probably if they're not the same, it's probably a good thing because they are so big and scary. It's fun and it's interesting.
They
That's our.
wanted to pet mongoose.
That's funny. She said that because I was getting ready to make a comparison. It's interesting that our biggest snake, I'm going to say, is probably the eastern diamondback. Indigo snake can be big, but I don't know if there's any big ones left.
Yeah,
Not as big as a diamond. I don't think because they don't get as big around.
they don't get as big, but they're built like an elapid. They're not venomous, but they're
Right.
built like a mamba or something.
Yeah,
More,
that's what. And you got
more like that, or
and you get
racer.
other snake. Yeah, you get other snakes in other countries like king cobras can get huge, but they don't get as big around as a rattlesnake. They can be equal length, but they're more slender and just have a different body shape
Which
and
means
build.
they're fast.
Well, that's true.
If you want to see a big old snake that doesn't really get that, I mean, comparatively doesn't get that
Oh,
long, the boon viper is like spooky scary.
yeah, but it's not real long, but it's big around as it. I mean, they're huge.
We had and maybe I've told this story 1,000
Okay,
times.
well, all right, Tina, we'll stop telling stories about them. We'll quit talking about them.
Quit talking about snakes. I'd
Yeah,
sure like to talk about those snakes in the wall, though. We had the DEA came in and like did a big raid on a house, and then they called Game and Fish to come over, and there's
Oh
something,
yeah.
and we went in and got those snakes out of that wall, and they were, golly, they were that big around, but they were only about maybe 5 or 6 feet long.
And they had dropped them in there to protect the stash, hadn't they? I remember that.
They did, and we had a great big ginormous human being with a shaved head and a big old handlebar mustache that worked for us. And he called us down there to get those snakes. There was 2 of them. He called us down there to get those snakes out of the wall, and he was like, "You guys are nuts." And the 2 little guys that like got the snakes out of the wall were like, "We don't think we're nuts. You're nuts."
Everybody's trying to figure out who set us off on this snake trail. Well, it doesn't take much. I might be to blame. I mean, I did say I saw a video this morning, so I might have started it myself.
You started the whole snake thing, so
now
we
go
back to fish.
Not that we've ever started ourselves down at that trail, that snake trail.
That's what we're talking about right there in that teepee.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, most likely. It's either that or hunting. I mean, it's got to be, you know.
You're either reading Blackfoot Lodge tales or we're talking about snakes.
Yep, that's it. Okay, let me open this up. Let's talk about fish a little bit. So actually, let me do something else first. As
you do your housekeeping, buddy.
Gotta do my housekeeping chores here a little bit. It's like we hit that like button and hide that little thing, and leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. So if you're new to here, please, I'd really appreciate it if you signed up. So some happy birthday. I've got the first thing I want to make sure I wish my daughter, our youngest daughter, had a happy birthday Thursday. I hate to tell you how, I mean, you guys it doesn't mean anything to you guys, but when I say it out loud, it really makes me feel kind of bad. She's 38 and that's our baby.
I remember when she was like this big. Makes me feel ancient. Did I lose you? You froze up. Is he froze up for you guys too? You're froze. We can't see you anymore. It's just me. I can't see nothing except myself.
Well,
there you are. There you are.
Right, hanging up. Now, can you guys see me again?
Got you, Lena Charlie, buddy.
All right, before I go back to the story, let me see if I can't make you large.
I don't want to be large.
Well, Tina wants to see the walking stick, so I'm going to try to make you large so that you can show Tina the walk. How do I do that?
I don't know.
Yeah, dude. Now show the walking stick.
Well, hang on.
if you can reach it.
I can
Just
reach it.
just twist around there like you was a 10-year-old again.
I don't know how to.
There it was showing up good there. That's not bad right there. You can see, can you see it, Tina?
How to display it.
That's good. That's where did you get your face, the idea from? I mean,
Well,
and I'm asking because I see a similar face on sticks and canes a lot, and they're not all the same exactly, but they're similar.
I do a. Hang on a second. I got another deal. I'll show.
All right, he's going to show another deal. And I won't share anything until he comes back. That way I don't screw up his being large on the screen.
So I've done these carvings.
There you go. Hold it.
Turn. I don't know how to display it. I do these carvings of like dwarven warriors or whatever they are, Vikings or somebody.
Maybe that's what it is that I see.
And then I did this one the same way, and it didn't look. I mean, it's just kind of a tree spirit.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
It's not a representation of my wife's dad. He didn't have a big.
No, I didn't think so.
It looks more like us.
That's what Tina said. She said it looks a little bit like you.
But
maybe that's the idea.
It's just kind of that people have done carvings like this forever.
Sort of druidish, maybe. I don't know. Maybe
kind of and then on this particular one, like I said, I'm going to put a cap on top here of ebony.
Ebony.
So black wood from Africa. And then I'll put a cap at the end of it with some kind of metal.
Right.
Actually, I already put a cap on it. It's pronghorn horn.
Well, that'll work.
If you can see it there.
I can see that.
Yeah.
There's
something to, keep the tip the tip of this walking stick kind of intact.
And something you could replace if you needed to easier.
Yeah, it's just glued on. I pegged it in there, and I just wanted to make something for my wife out of that tree that we were presented with when her dad passed. They gave us this tree, this crabapple tree, and we planted it out in the yard. And that was the bad winter of 22, 23, and the moose ate it and killed it. So,
because that's what I think mooses do.
Because that's what mooses do.
Okay, let's see if I can get my show back up now without somehow shutting us down again.
But we were talking about Kelly sliding down the. I don't even know where I saw that. Facebook, probably. She was sliding down the stairs with her best friend.
See, Kelly,
and I was just like,
they sort of
I wouldn't expect anything different.
No, sort of put me in mind of a cartoon where they're going,
she's doing that thing right down the stairs. Ba-bump, 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 ba-bump,
she's hanging out with Maggie
like a little kid playing on the stairs.
Actually, that might even it had to be on Kelly's side, or you wouldn't have seen it. I started thinking maybe it was on Maggie's side, but I think it was on both. Maggie's her best buddy that she works with and sells with and does antique stuff with, and And that, hey Tim, I sent you a picture of Dan on Messenger. Okay, I will look in a moment. So remind me again. Well, unless it's critical, unless it's ties in with something right this minute, or I can open it on my phone. Mayhaps.
Jimmy Buchanan was inaugurated.
Oh,
Or inaugurated.
picture of here's a picture of their tripod. Hey, that actually shows up
The
pretty good.
tripod looks pretty good to me.
Looks like he's just laying there taking a break. Maybe he's wanting to go out and chase a squirrel. He's laying there thinking, why is it those guys get to do all the squirrel chasing and I don't get to? Oh,
Well,
the snake.
I know the Ursus horribilis teeny tiny ensis has been. He can't go outside without barking.
Yeah.
He just runs all the way around the perimeter completely, barking.
He's marking it and telling everybody stay away.
He's like, yeah, I know there's porcupines or coons or something out here, and you need to leave. And I saw 2 buck deer this morning out in my alfalfa that were like enormous.
Whitetails or muleys?
Mule deer, but big ones. So it's good to see that again.
Yeah. Yeah. Still in velvet, I assume.
Yeah, they're still in velvet, but they're big. They're
They're
one of them's got a kicker on both sides, sticking out.
Cool.
Gorgeous deer.
Because you haven't talked about mule deer in a while, being around, especially not bucks, big bucks anyway.
Yeah, we got hit so hard in 22, 23 that we lost the bulk of. We went from a population of almost 50,000 mule deer in this herd to 11,000 in 1 year. That's way noticeable.
Yeah. Way knows. And everybody calls you and wants to know what you did to the mule deer because they can't find any to hunt.
Exactly, but I had retired by then anyway.
Well, yeah, but you know the story. That's how it works.
But they still come visit me because they know who I worked for forever.
Of course. Dennis, she said Dennis had a couple busy days. Had a tree cut down by the power company. And then a friend came and got wood. Oh, wow. So they've been busy then.
Busy.
Hey, Maple Bacon, welcome in. Buddy, have you been here? Because I just now saw you. And I was pulling for Canada. Mike, just so you know, I was rooting for Canada in the World Series, Little League World Series the other day. But somebody, I can't remember which team. I think they got beat by Taipan, which is just like a machine of some sort. They're so good. Those boys are so good. So anyway, happy birthday to Kelly, and I'm pretty sure she had a big time. And I'll wish her a personal happy birthday when we run into her again. I'm sure we'll be down there soon. We got a mission or two to go down on. I got to go get my computer. Dave still got my computer, my laptop. So, some things that happened on August 16th, 1958, James Buchanan inaugurates the first transatlantic telegraph. And I thought that I thought that was kind of apropos because here we are talking on the new age, space age wonder of the world, the internet and Wi-Fi, and don't need a cable. And they dropped a cable, and I've always had trouble really wrapping my mind around it. They dropped a cable all the way across
All the
it,
way across the ocean.
and dropped it down to the bottom, and then they talked on it or did telegraph stuff on it in this case. I mean, that's just such a and that was huge step in technology at that time. And but the sad thing was they did it and went on to all that trouble, but then it worked they had it running for a couple of weeks or a few weeks, and then they shut it down because it was so slow. So their internet connection was not good. Not in 1896, Skookum Jim Mason or Skookum, I'm not depends on where you're from, I guess. George Carmack and Dawson Charlie, interesting names there. Skookum and Dawson Charlie, I'm sure came from that area up there. Rivers already named after that. Discovered gold in a tributary in the Klondike River in Canada, and that's what set off the Klondike Gold Rush. And I didn't realize that it was that close to the turn of the century. 1896 was, just before 1900. I mean, that's just, I didn't realize it was, and people went up there. If you've ever seen the photographs, they would land in a certain place. I can know which port they were in. And to get to the gold fields, they had to cross that huge mountain pass. And the Canadian government or the Mounties, because they knew what was going to happen, they required them to take a certain amount of supplies for the winter to make sure they weren't up there hunting them in the middle of the winter or trying to save them. And they would take days up and down that mountain for them to haul all that stuff up that they had to take with them to the other side to load it on a wagon or a flatboat or whatever they were putting stuff on to go up the river to mine for gold. It's just those pictures always just absolutely, which is, I don't know if what's his name, the White Fang guy, and the other dog book in the Klondike. He was up there mining gold for that when he did those stories.
Well, Wyatt Earp and his wife went up there and mined.
Did they?
Oh, yeah. Right during that time.
I can't remember. I think I do remember that, but I don't remember if they were successful or not. Which most people were not. 1927, the Dole Air Race begins in Oakland, California. They were going to fly from Oakland, California to Honolulu, Hawaii, during which 6 out of the 8 planes that started crashed and disappeared. I thought, well, that's not very good. That's 6 out of 8 crashed.
6 out of 8?
6 out of 8 didn't make it to Hawaii. That's not good odds. I felt kind of bad about that when I read that, but I thought, well, we just talked about air races or a little bit airplanes. So I thought, well, let's put that in there. 1930, the first color cartoon came out. The name was Fiddlesticks, and it was released by a gentleman by the name of Ub Iwerks, and that's an important name for any of our Disney friends because Walt Disney and Ub Iwerks, Ube's helped Disney set up some of their first cartoons, and then he went off on his own, and he did stuff by himself, and then he also worked for somebody else, and started a whole nother company all on his own. But he was an artist and a cartoon guy, animation guy, and he and Disney kind of started that whole thing in a way.
I gotta go look for that now.
Okay.
Daggone it. Fiddlesticks.
1948, on this day, Babe Ruth passed away, which I thought he lived a little bit longer than that. In 49, Margaret Mitchell, who wrote Gone with the Wind, she passed away.
Wow.
Elvis Presley died on this day. We all should bow our head and take off our hats. Remove cover, as they like to say now. Uh, I almost, and I should have remembered that. I was at work. I was working at Appalachian Flying Service when that happened, and or I had just started there or something. Anyway, that was a lot of people were very sad about that.
My mama cried like a little baby.
My mama probably did too, but I wasn't up there at the time to see. My mama was a big Elvis fan and had been to, in her case, a couple of concerts. And she went with one of my cousins, who was her old mom's oldest sister's, well, big sister's daughter. And she and her and mom were just real buddies. They weren't. She wasn't a whole lot older than me, and they went to a concert. And I'm pretty sure I tell this story. I haven't seen Carolyn lately to ask her, but she got a scarf. You know, he used to throw stuff to the audience,
Yeah.
like scarves, and that was a big deal if you could get one of his scarves. You know, from
Like, here's my underwear.
yeah, well, stuff like And, Carolyn got one of his scarves, so that was a big deal. And because of us, I put in there Amanda Blake died on this day in 1929. Wait a minute, that's not right. No, she was born in 29.
She was
She
born
died
in
in
20.
89.
She died in 89.
And Amanda Blake, if you don't know, is Miss Kitty on Gunsmoke. I bet Chuck knew that. And today I just threw this in there because it happened. You know, go Army. Today is National Airborne Day, so that name came about after World War II because of the service that the newly formed at that time U.S. Army Airborne, and then they got to say things like Rangers lead the way and Airborne leads the way. I guess is how they like to say it. So anyhow, now let's talk about fish. Let me get a drink here.
So we only have 79 species.
Bruh, yeah,
Where I
that's
went to school in Arkansas, we had, I think, 289 species of fish, freshwater fish.
I've got a book here.
And I bet Tennessee's got even more.
They do. I've got a book back here that I had to have when I went to college for fisheries.
About this thick.
About this thick, and it's absolutely jam packed with fish species, front to back, and it weighs about 200 pounds. I swear it does. It's a big old heavy book. And the guy who wrote that book was my professor. And yeah, Tennessee's got an abundance of freshwater fish species.
300 plus is what Tennessee's got.
Yeah, that's what I was
Most
thinking.
of them are about this long.
That's true.
They're still native freshwater fish.
Well, some of your 79 or 78 or whatever it is, they're that long too. But
yeah,
but some of them are much bigger. So the numbers I found at least said there's roughly 28 game species in Wyoming, but only 9 of those are native, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. So hang on to that thought, which means they've got a lot of introduced species, which is something that happened all over this country for a long time. Certain fish species got introduced to a lot of streams to help replenish them or add to the
it was add opportunity for humans to fish.
Yeah, so that happened all over the country until a period when they decided that's not so good for anything native, and they stopped doing it in some places, like the Smoky Mountains they used to put rainbow trout in the streams up there. And of course, now they don't do that because they're trying to preserve the brook trout. And we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute, too. And again, the number I found was that there's about 50 non-game species and 40 of those are native. So there's some non-game stuff they've introduced also. And again, I think you and I've talked about that a little bit. We'll talk more about that in a minute. I don't have a lot of slides today, so that should give us some more room to discuss those things. Okay. And that picture there is of a Yellowstone cutthroat trout, which is probably one of the cutthroat that Dave would like to come out and catch. And
Yeah, we have four subspecies,
yeah,
that being one of them.
that's one of them. Again, that's a good point. They're subspecies of
Cutthroat trout.
yeah, cutthroat. They're all cutthroats and they're subspecies, and they're oncorhynchus.
We have Bonneville, Snake River, Colorado River, and Yellowstone.
So here's some native game species that exist, and I put that white. I believe that's a whitefish. I believe that's a mountain white.
It's a mountain whitefish.
And but that's yet another one of the cutthroat trout species, and I just put it kind of generic up there. The fish on the upper right is mountain whitefish. Are those good to eat, Mark? I mean, is that
They are. They're really good smoked.
Yeah. Okay.
And I told my youngest son-in-law, who's as crazy about fishing as I am, that we needed to start like targeting them because they're really super abundant.
Yeah.
And they get way bigger than that one, way bigger.
Yeah, I didn't look for big ones or anything.
And you can like put them in the smoker, and they're very bony, but if you smoke them, you can just pull that skeleton out with no problem. And
I'm not a huge fish eater, but I do like smoked fish.
I like fish in general, except for the salmonids, which
are oily.
I don't like oily fish. So. My wife loves salmon and the big trout I catch, but she eats way more of it than I do.
So she's the one you make salmon patties for, isn't it?
Yep.
See, I didn't grow up eating. My mom wasn't. I grew up with a mother who was, while she was raised in the country, she either didn't like things because she had to eat it for years and that's all they had, or she just didn't like things and like butter. We didn't have real butter in my house because she didn't like the fact she had to churn it when she was a little girl, so she just didn't bring it. She thought oleomargarine was
you ate oleo.
But she also didn't like milk and she didn't like fish, so we didn't eat a lot of fish. We'd go fishing and she would cook it, but she didn't go out of her way to pick salmon patties or, bring fish in for other reasons. She just didn't. So I didn't eat a lot of it when I was growing up. And that's a grayling down at the bottom left-hand corner. And I've heard grayling, Mark, I don't know if this was from you or somebody else years ago, referred to them kind of as the trash fish of the let's say trout fish, because it more or less I can't remember what family they're in. They're an Arctic. They're not. Are they an Arctic?
I never called them a trash fish. They're one of my favorites.
But I guess they were more common in some rivers out there, and some people thought, we don't like them. They probably wanted
whitefish is what they talk about here.
What? Whitefish?
Yeah, whitefish is the one that people are like, oh, that's just junk. And I'm like, what are you doing? My youngest son-in-law caught one day that was, I don't know how long it was, 22, 23 inches long, great big one.
A grayling?
No, a whitefish.
Whitefish, okay.
And he just like slung it over his shoulder and threw it back in the river. And I'm like, dude, we could have eaten that fish. They're really good.
Yeah, but
And
he'd heard all of his life they weren't any good.
he'd heard all his life that they weren't any good, that you only ate trout, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah.
Well, my wife's kind of like that. She only wants to eat crappie.
Well, I don't blame her on that.
Well, it is good. I'm not saying it's not good. Anyway, and then that bottom one is I guess
Bourbon.
I don't know how everybody say. Some people say it different, I think, but
It's
which
bourbon. Burbot, bourbon, or
yeah.
ling cod. Some people call them ling, but they're burbot.
And I think I read that in some places they're
And
actually
they are fantastic eating and kind of a nasty fish. They're
they have
they,
tooth.
they're really hard on other species of fish, and they live on the bottom and they feed on their fry, on their young, on the babies, and the eggs. And they're real hard on crayfish populations, and
They're an aggressive.
but they taste like heaven. We call them poor man's lobster.
Yeah, poor man's lobster. We have. Excuse me. I should mute my. I should mute my microphone. I forget. Um, I'm not. I can't remember if they're native here, but there are some here in Western Tennessee, mostly. And
Bourbon?
yeah, or
Oh, I didn't know that.
bourbon. Maybe it's not bourbon. What's the other? No, wait a minute. You know what? Maybe I'm getting them mixed up with a different fish. Did you have them in Arkansas?
No.
Okay, what's the long fish that you guys had there? We've talked about them a lot.
Bowfin.
Bowfin. I was getting them mixed up with bowfin. Never mind.
Grinnell.
So anyway, that's a bourbon, and again, we have stories about that. We'll get.
Yeah, and they'll get up. You can catch those. Their heads are like this big. They get fairly good length, but when they've achieved that size, they're not really fit to eat.
better
The
to eat
little ones are better, but they're a bioaccumulator of nastiness. You don't want to.
They're not. There's also a misconception about when you say they live on the bottom. They don't necessarily. That doesn't mean they just eat mud and trash and junk. They eat fish.
They're a big time predator.
Yeah, they're a predator fish. They don't just. They're not down there hunting yucky stuff. But bigger. That's common in wildlife of various kinds. The bigger they get, usually you don't want them. You want them when they're a little bit younger, and that applies to fish as well.
Well, they bioaccumulate mercury and stuff
yeah,
like
that's a good
that.
point.
You just can't. They're not really safe to eat after a while, but they get pretty large.
And that's out your way where you would think there wouldn't be so much mercury. I guess it's natural though out there, probably.
Yeah, I think so.
And we had that problem here because it was getting dumped into rivers and streams. I can remember when they put signs up below my grandmother's house that said, don't eat the fish because there's mercury in them.
Right.
And they've tried to educate people about if they're big fish, they live so long, they get more and more mercury in them, and maybe that's why we're crazy like we are. I don't know. And here's a couple of more. One of which I didn't know about. The black bullhead is one that's native in your state in some places.
Yeah.
And that's what I should say. Some of these aren't
in
all
the east.
State. I did not know that sauger are considered a native out there. I didn't realize you had sauger.
Yep, in the rivers in northern Wyoming, we have sauger.
Now that's cool because that's pretty good fish, eating fish.
That's a great eating fish. But they're not near as common as walleye, which are their first cousins.
Yeah, but walleye aren't native in Wyoming, are they?
I don't think so. I think they were introduced.
Yeah, they were introduced. And blue catfish or channel cat. I didn't realize they were native out in your way. Again, in the east.
but only in the east. Yeah,
I guess that's all part of the Mississippi River
they come
drain.
up. They come up the Missouri River and the North Platte River.
Which are also good eating. But
So one of those was a fish that my buddy that worked at the bird farm over in eastern Wyoming.
yeah,
I think Caitlin actually might have even caught the fish. It was a great big channel cat, 20 plus inches long, and Bruce was killing it to butcher it, and he hit it with a something, and it flipped that fish up, and the pectoral spine, the spine on this, which would be your arms, went in right into his knee all the way to the base.
he's right here.
Yeah, right. All that spine went into his knee completely right to the hilt on the side of his knee.
Man,
And he took some side cutters and cut that spine off and went to the hospital. And I've berated him ever since. I'm like, dude, you could have taped that fish to the side of your leg and walked into the emergency room, and that would have been the coolest story ever.
yeah, they would have been talking about that to
Because
this day.
when he walked in, he said, I got a catfish spine in my knee, like on the side of my knee, all the way. It's buried all the way to the base of it.
Surprised he could walk.
And they're like, there's no way that you did that. And he's like, yeah, here. I'm like, if you'd have had the fish on your leg, they'd have known immediately.
They would have believed you. If you've ever gone fishing, if you've ever caught a catfish, somebody's probably warned you about the spines, but those little pectoral fins, the ones, again, right here behind the gills,
They got notches on them, too.
as Mark said, kind of their arm fins. Yeah, they do. They might as well be barbed. They don't.
They're barbed.
And they hurt. I've been stuck by them just not that deep. They hurt, and it's almost like, of course, some people used to say, "Oh, they got poison in them." I don't know what they have in them or on them.
They have some kind of venom.
It hurts.
Yeah, like awful. And that's
not to scare people from catfish, but they do exist. It's
that little black one at the top of the screen there.
Here.
That one hurts worse than any of them, as far as I'm concerned. Bullheads, all the bullheads, the 3 species of bullheads, they all have really sharp spines, and they're good at using them. We found a cottonmouth in the Ouachitas in Arkansas. Big old, great big yellow cottonmouth. He was a big one. That had caught a bullhead by the head, and that bullhead stuck his spines through the side of that snake's face, and they were both lying there dead.
Well, that would have been the end of him, because both of them, because they wouldn't have been able to escape.
Yeah, they couldn't. I mean, he literally just poked those pectoral fins through that snake's head, and killed them both.
Wow.
I could take you to that spot right now. That was one of the oddest things I've ever seen. Look at that beautiful thing. Oh my God.
Which one?
That darter.
That darter, yeah, that darter is a orange throat darter. I thought those were gorgeous. Tennessee has some things like this too, but I didn't realize, that was just a really nice one. So what I've got here is a stone roller at the top, which we have stone rollers back here also.
Campostoma.
Huh?
Campostoma.
Yep. And they
I hate that I can remember that.
well, I don't till you I think about it. They call them that because they literally will move stones around on the bottom of the stream and build their nest, as we refer to it. But it's an interesting fish. This big one up here in the corner is these are the little ones we were talking about. That's a shiner, a black big mouth shiner. This one right here is one I put. I've got another little story about him in a minute, but that's called a flannel mouth sucker. This is that orange throat darter. And over here, I believe, is creek chub. So you've got creek chubs, right?
Yep, I'm in eastern Wyoming.
Oh, you don't have it. What do you have chubs in your river?
Roundtails.
Just round, but that's all, just round
That's
tail.
it.
And this down at the bottom is supposed to be a round tail chub drawing. And this is a cope sucker, and I don't know where cope suckers are in the state, but it's one of the native non-game species that you have out there. Now, here's some of the, here's where both controversy and pleasure kind of coexist on this plane of existence that's never good or easy. These are some of the non-native game fish. Remember I said there's only 9 out of 27 or something, or 28 or whatever it was. These are some of the ones that they brought into the state to supplement fishing or to back when in the how to put this, when game and fish agencies really started working, one of the things they were trying to do was improve fisheries all over their various states. And there's even a program that helps support some of this through excise taxes on fishing equipment. But they brought native fish or non-native fish into different places to do that. And one of the most common ones I see and know about in a lot of places, if you got the right water, is the rainbow trout, which is that one in the upper left corner. I think and everybody thinks they're just native, or oh wow, we got rainbow trout in the creeks here. Well, they're not. They were brought in. They're actually more of a California western coast fish. Some of which go to the ocean and back, like salmon, or well, they are in that family, but and they call them steelheads when they do that. And that people think it's a whole different fish, but it's just a big rainbow. That one up at the top center is a pumpkin seed, which Mark and I've talked about. That's not the most colorful picture of one. If that fish had turned just a little bit in the sun and hit it, you'd really see the color. They're gorgeous. Upper left-hand corner is a brown trout
from Germany.
That's a Germanic European fish and we have some here in some of our streams. They get bigger than some of these other trout, especially native trout when you have them. They're cruciferous, so they eat other fish, so they're kind of aggressive and can be hard on other populations of fish. And they get bigger. And boy, they're fun on a fly rod, though. They fight. Lower left-hand corner, I believe those are lake trout.
They are.
Yeah. And that's a walleye at the bottom right, which we talked about a minute ago. That's another introduced species out there. I believe that middle, let's see, brown.
That's a brook
trout. Yeah, brook trout.
Yep, that's a western brook trout.
Which is probably
they get up. They get up over 6 or 7 pounds out here.
Back here, they get up over 6 or 7 inches.
Exactly, where they're native.
Because
they are not native here, but most of the children that I know in this state, the first fish they ever caught was one of them.
In a stock pond.
Well, in a
Maybe not.
streams or whatever, and the department has declared jihad on that species for some reason. They're not doing that to rainbow trout, but they're doing it to brookies. And brookies way more. There's way more of them, and they're a great eating little fish, and in the ponds they get great big.
Yeah.
So,
and we're going to talk about this, or we can now. That's what can be very controversial about these species. Mark just said they've declared jihad on the brook trout out there because it's non-native, but they've got rainbow trout probably in every creek and stream out there just about, and they're not, and that's also a non-native fish out there.
Still stocking them,
and they're still stocking them, and yet they don't. And so it's really most of the time.
And lake trout.
Most time it's political. Just to be honest, there's somebody. There's usually a pressure point somewhere that brings that into play. And some fishermen have some pressure, can apply pressure, but
we have kokanee salmon as well.
I got a picture of them here.
They are not native. Lake trout are not native.
There's kokanee down there at the bottom corner.
Smallmouth bass up there in the left side there, they're not native.
Largemouth aren't native.
Largemouth are not native. Crappie are not native. So we have all these non-native game fish, and somebody decides like that one's better than that one. And I never understood it personally.
And see, and when you get to Mark's perspective, he's got both a biologist and wildlife perspective in that he knows why maybe you don't want those fish in your streams because they are non-native. And at the same time, he's a fisherman, and he would like to catch smallmouth bass or crappie or walleye maybe, and they're better eating. A lot of people think they're better eating than salmon or than a lot of trout. Because as he said earlier, trout tend to be oily, especially the salmonids, which again, for some people is really good for you, that particular oil or that line of oil. No, that sounds weird.
I'm not opposed to eating them, but I would prefer to eat a smallmouth bass as I would a rainbow trout.
Yeah.
Personally.
I believe that, Mark. I didn't write this one down, but I'm pretty sure that's a golden trout there in the middle. It's just not like the one you sent me. I'm going to show here in a minute, but that's a smaller one.
That's just a little bitty one. That thing's still got par marks on it, which means it's a juvenile fish.
But I thought it was interesting, and that's an exotic and import. Brenda's favorite fish in the whole wide world is this one down here in the lower left. I don't know if she's in here talking about them or not.
And that's a grand fish too. I love them.
They are really good eating, and but if they're gonna stock stuff, that'll be more consistent about it, I guess, is the thing.
Well, there's so many non-native waters out here now.
Yeah.
That are not natural. We have so many impoundments and little lakes that were built out in the prairie and etc. And it's like, really, who cares? It's not like they're a native drainage. They're not a drainage anyway. They're a pond or a small lake. They're not draining off into other additional waterways. Just I've never understood the the thinking behind fisheries management, I guess.
Well, when they were doing all this stuff and they introduced all these species, it was one thought process. And then we got to where we were, well, maybe we shouldn't have done all that in places. And in some cases it's been really bad, or for at least for native species. I mean, they've been all but wiped out. But then you get to the point where you're at now, where we pick. Somebody's got to decide. Well, which one are we going to go get? Are we gonna allow smallmouth to survive, or are we going to rotenone them all, or are we gonna allow trout to be here? Or are we gonna put rainbows in here, or that kind of argument? And then there's not a lot of rhyme or reason to it sometimes, or it doesn't seem like it. Well, there's not. I've been
Well,
involved.
it's like, we maybe you're going to talk about this, but burbot in Wyoming.
No, we can now though. That's a good.
Burbot are native east of the Continental Divide, east of me. Other side of the Wind River Range, they're a native fish. And we had two older gentlemen from the town of Farson, which is on my side of the divide, that loved to fish for burbot. And burbot are really easy to, heck, you can throw them in the bed of your truck and drive around for hours and they'll still survive. They're just they're just one of those kind of fish. And so they went over to those drainages on the east side of the divide and caught a bunch of went to some lakes and caught a bunch of burbot and brought them home to Farson. There's a reservoir just north of town called the Big Sandy, and they let them go there. They were never native in this Colorado River system. Well, they took off like gangbusters, and we have a gazillion of them now, and they eat things like smallmouth fry. And it's like, well, burbot are bad because they're eating the smallmouth fry. Well, smallmouth aren't native either.
One could say smallmouth are bad.
But we brought them, the department brought them back in the 30s and 40s and 50s.
And they're more exotic, really, than a burbot, because a burbot is native in the eastern part of your state.
Really close.
Smallmouth were never there. Correct?
And, or they're eating all the lake trout fry, or they're eating all the kokanee spawn. Well, none of those fish are native, none of them. So, like I said, sometimes, and burbot are really good eating.
When they're not bigger. Yeah, well, you said that.
Until they get too big. And
yeah.
But personally, from a personal standpoint, I'd prefer to catch a smallmouth as a burbot because they're more of a sport fish. Burbot are kind of like bottom hugging, almost like fishing for catfish.
It's a different.
And you go out there, like the most successful we are on them is that in the wintertime through the ice.
For burbot?
Yeah. And you drop down a glow jig right on the bottom and bump it up and down and got a little piece of sucker meat on there or whatever. And you can catch some whoppers, and they're fun to catch, but they're not as fun as a smallmouth. So it's all about public pressure. In our case, it's like, well, we want rainbows and we want smallmouth and we want lake trout and whatever. Kokanee in particular.
Yeah, and kokanee, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've always heard, or I believe I was told, that in the case of, say, kokanee, you don't really, once they get to this stage where they're at in this picture, and they're near they're going to spawn and then die. They're not at that point. They're really not that good to eat, or most people don't want to eat them.
Right.
Better when they're smaller. Again, younger fish, not in that spawning mode, which changes a lot of things in their bodies. You can see it makes them all hook billed and or hook nosed or snouted, and then they get this bright red color, or generally speaking, some color similar to that. So it's just it is. I'm going to run through this, but we're going to come back.
So the ranch that I ride for, they live on a drainage that flows into one of our best kokanee fisheries in the state, Fontenelle Reservoir, and they live on Fontenelle Creek, and those things run up that creek to spawn.
Oh, really?
Not, I don't think successfully. I think they just do it because that's their nature.
So they're having to
and when they're up in there, you can go up on that creek any day and see river otters.
Bet
Eating a kokanee. It's kind of a spectacle. It's kind of cool, but our agency is still actively spawning and stocking kokanee in that same reservoir. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there.
Because they don't reproduce there. So you would have to, that's the only way they can keep them in there. So in effect, they're making them.
There's a tailwaters area below the dam on the Green River that they do successfully spawn.
Oh, they do there? Okay.
But not that, like I said, there'll be thousands of them swim up Fontenelle Creek. And the brook trout, or not the brook trout, the brown trout, there's a lot of big brown trout in that drainage, and they eat them. And, or they're eating eggs or whatever. And then the otters are up in there eating them. And we have a bazillion ospreys in that country now, and bald eagles. And so, yeah, I mean, they provide a source of energy for a lot of creatures, but they're not native.
Right. All right, let's move. I'll move down a little bit more. Mark mentioned this fish to me yesterday because I believe
That might be my
daughter-in-law
crew.
Well, that's why I put it in there. Your daughter-in-law, this is what she does for the state now, I believe. Or I mean,
she's a fisheries biologist.
Yeah,
she works on game fish and non-game fish. But this is one of her babies.
Yeah. And I figured out by researching, I never had heard of a flannel mouth sucker, and it's because I didn't know what they were. And it's got to do with their mouth parts and how puffy or large or soft or whatever they are you want to call it. So that's where the flannel comes from. But they work there, and I think you told me, and I did find a little bit about this. There's 3 species. There's like a bluehead sucker. I think it was called this one, and another one. I think that they're working on.
Bluehead suckers, flannel mouth suckers, and round-tailed chubs.
Round-tailed. Okay, those are the 3.
It's a program trying to keep those 3 species intact and alive on the landscape. And I always poke the bear and tell her that, like, you're spending half your time working on bait fish.
And that can also become controversial with fishermen. They'd rather you spend it on sport fish and not, as you put it, bait fish.
I believe that's Muddy Creek in the bottom. I think that's her crew. And it's over by Baggs, Wyoming, east of Rock Springs. east and south of Rock Springs. And at some point, we got northern pike in that drainage from they swam up from Colorado, and they were sure fun to have in there, I thought.
From a fisherman's perspective.
From a fisherman's perspective, and they went to war on them, and I think they've pretty much gotten rid of all of them now. But
and they're probably, I mean, I'm sure they were feeding on these guys.
Yeah, they were eating these fish.
I put these in there. Okay, and that's a round tail up there. I think I may have shown that one already. And I've shown this stone roller up here at the top, and this is a creek chub at the bottom. Is that correct?
That's a trout of some kind.
That's what I thought. That picture was labeled.
It's not a creek chub.
I might have drugged the wrong picture in, so never mind. Let's just move on to that. So one of the things I thought I did find during this, and this is the part that Dave is probably excited about, because the guy he's wanting to come out there and go fishing with and do the cutthroat thing, this may be what they're looking at. This thing that Wyoming is doing called the cut slam, which is encouraging fishermen to come out there and try to catch all four of these species of cutthroat. And if you do, you get a badge and this document, and you have to do things to document it, and they're not wanting you to keep them and bring them down to the office and say, look, I got one. I'm pretty sure it's catch and release kind of thing, or that's what they're encouraging. But you can get these medals, and you get a certificate, and Trout Unlimited is involved with it somehow, the Wyoming part of it. And you get a vehicle decal to show that you've done it. And so I'm sure this is part of what Dave's wanting to come out and do. And I found out, Mark, looking at this, that your neighbor to the southwest is also doing a program like this. They call it something different. As I was looking, and they've got some different species down there. But they're doing something very similar to the cut slam.
Yeah, and we've had that program running now for 2 or 3 decades.
Oh, has it been that long? Okay.
And I have access to a cabin just up here northwest of my house where we can catch 3 of them within like a 12-mile radius. And then we'll have to go over on the Wind River side to catch the Yellowstone cut, but
that's on the other side of the divide.
It's clear on the other side. It's come all to Popo Aggie. It's all clear on the other side. It's literally the Popo Aggie, the Poposia, as you would say it correctly, is part of that Wind River system,
which is right in here.
Mm-hmm. And my favorite, there's a drainage up there just north of the Wind called the Wiggins Fork, which is a place you can get eaten by a grizzly bear and catch a Yellowstone cutthroat in the same day.
So you can have a real wilderness experience there.
Yep.
I put this map in here. It may not be clear to everybody, but this is something else that you can find at the Wyoming Cut Slam site on their internet. And it shows you the watersheds where all 4 of these cutthroat trout can be found. The green, I don't know what the pink one is, and this blue one, I don't know what's the main.
That's the Snake River cut.
And Snake is the top.
The pink one is Bonneville cutthroat.
Okay.
And the green is the Colorado cutthroat, Colorado River cutthroat. And then that's the Yellowstone.
And I have pictures of each one here, I believe. This is a Yellowstone cut.
They're gorgeous fish.
Lots of color on this fish.
Gorgeous fish.
And this is the Bonneville fish. Not quite as colorful, but, it looks like a nice fish to if you're in the trout, and it's native.
And they're
Well,
smaller. They're
well,
smaller than the Yellowstone cuts.
okay. Well, that Yellowstone cut was pretty good size. Looked like some of those get to be pretty good.
I've caught some whoppers.
I grew up watching a television show, and we probably talked about this too, called American Sportsman with Kurt Gowdy,
Yeah.
among other people. That's the first place I think I ever knew Kurt Gowdy as a sports announcer. But he was a fly fisherman. He used to love to go out in this country and catch cutthroats. And I grew up hearing about cutthroat trout fishing, but didn't know what they were or anything. But I can remember them going out there and catching cutthroats. I don't know where exactly they were, but
you can see that bigger fish at the bottom of the screen. You can tell why they call them cutthroats.
yeah,
They've got that bloodline, looks bloody looking, and it's just pigment. It's not blood, but
yeah, it's not blood. It's not a cut. It just looks that way. And this is the Colorado River cutthroat. Ian's not with us today. He's helped moving his mom.
I've caught some big whoppers of those too.
But we could give him some kind of grief, I'm sure, over him if he was here and we tried. But that's number 3, and then number 4 is the Snake River cutthroat. Do these get big?
That's the one that's always eluded me. I've got all 3 of the other 3
But not this
subspecies. And I go up every time I go up to the Snake River to fish for this subspecies, you just have to take a photograph and to get your cut slam.
Yeah, right.
And they and they could be over a number of years. And every time I go up there to that drainage to fly fish, I catch whitefish. That's what I catch most.
You don't get cut. You don't get.
I don't catch these guys. But I don't know why. I'm not presenting it correctly or something. I don't know.
I had to do a little bit of research on my own because this fish, the name of this fish is actually changed, which a lot of fish have over the years. A lot of other things have too. We talked about that last week, I think. But some people call this a fine spotted, and you can kind of see why they would do that because it's covered in these little spots. And I guess the more traditional name has been the Snake River cutthroat. And the Clarkeye, the Oncorhynchus clarkeye, I'm going to call that Binky. I don't know how they pronounce it. That's changed. I mean, I'll tell you, when science figured out how to put these things in blenders and explore the DNA, boy, lots of things changed. And there's other things about fish that they find, and they say, somebody says, oh, that's different. And there's wars that go on just about that in the scientific world. So that was the original end of my slideshow, the slide part. We're going to talk some more about it. But Mark sent me a couple of pictures this morning of family pictures. And for example, I'm going to talk about this chub. And this is Jimmy, I believe you said, Mark's son-in-law. And that's one of the California cutthroat that now lives in parts of Wyoming. And look at that fish. I mean, that is one, it's pretty good size. But
golden trout, we call them golden trout.
Golden trout. What did I call it? Rainbow?
You said a California cutthroat or something.
Oh, okay. It's what you said. Golden trout, excuse me. But look at the color on that thing. I mean, that's gorgeous.
And that's a big round-tailed. That's the world record round-tailed chub I'm holding in my hand right there.
We think.
Well, it was 22 inches long and 2+ pounds. And there is no record for the species. My counterpart in fisheries always wanted the world record. And I send him pictures like this, and usually it's a video I send, like here, take this, Rob Keith. And that's on my property. So
That's your hand too, if I'm not mistaken.
that's my hand. Yeah.
And the thing is,
And I chopped it up and used it for crawfish bait, which really aggravated my daughter-in-law because she did her master's on this species.
Oh, that's right, she did. So here's the thing, and Mark was explaining to me that they would like to say this is, and could say probably, that this may be this might have been the world record
round-tailed chub.
Round-tail. But technically nobody actually there's not a record out there for it, because
there's no record. So I wanted to we have another program in the state out here, the department does, called the Master Angler Program. And if you catch like super large individuals of a certain species, you can get a Master Angler certificate for that species. Like if you catch like a ginormous muskie or you catch a really big lake trout, you can get a Master Angler. And so I submitted photos of this fish to the department and like, hey, I want a Master Angler for round-tailed chubs. And they're like, we don't even recognize them. Like as something that you could get you could get a certificate through that program.
Why are you fishing for that? Nobody likes that. Nobody wants that. We don't care about that.
And they're really, really fishy fish.
So they make better bait than
they make really good crawfish bait.
Which is what Mark uses when he
has. Which is what I use them for. So
I think you sent, I don't know, I don't think I put it up here. Did you? I think you sent me a picture of Caitlin holding this fish.
No, she caught a different one on the same day.
Oh, different fish. Okay. So anyway, it is, I'm going to shut that down. Obviously I did. It's, this whole thing about wildlife conservation and management can be very controversial. It can be
and see our state, you are not allowed to bring in non-native mammals or birds. It's not permitted. So in wildlife division, it was like, we only deal with native animals. We do not traffic in, because there were people that wanted to bring in owldads and black bucks and all kind of wild stuff, and it's like, nope, not in this state. You're not going to do that. Well, the fisheries side of the shop has always trafficked in
exotics,
and exotics always has. And I'm not blaming them. It's we wouldn't have near as cool game fishing opportunities without them. But if we were managing the Green River, for instance, just east of me here, for native fishes, we'd have round-tailed chubs, we'd have mountain whitefish, we'd have flannelmouth suckers, we'd have Colorado River squawfish, which are way cool because they get up to be like 6 feet long.
Oh, wow.
We would have they're a giant pike minnow, basically, and we would have cutthroats in the upper drainages, the upper streams, and that'd be it. There'd be maybe a couple of days or something like that, little minnow types, but there wouldn't be, the diversity would be really low. And it's a lot higher now.
I was going to say something. I forgot what it was. Carol, let me answer Carol's question.
Did somebody get a wing?
No, that was
Get
me.
some wings.
Maybe. the yes, Carol. That's what it's really all about. It's not so much a. I mean, there may be some that use those colorations as scare tactics, but it is mostly a breeding thing, spawning.
It's a breeding thing.
And when that happens, usually at certain times of the year, that's when they're really bright like that, and then the rest of the year, they're not. They're dull, more dull looking. They're not so exciting. But man, some of them are just absolutely beautiful. And Ken,
Rainbow darters from Arkansas
yeah,
and
we have those
Tennessee.
here too.
That's the most gorgeous fish on the planet, and they're first cousins to walleye and sauger, which is really wild because they only get about this
They only
big.
get about this big, yeah. You talk about something that spruces up your freshwater fish tank if it was legal. Or these if you went out and caught these out of your local streams, they
They're
put all that
gorgeous.
exotic stuff to shame. You just want to kick those out. You know, your guppies and your mollies and your all that. If you could put it full of darters and some of the other minnows that are native in some of our creeks, like in Tennessee or Arkansas, I mean, they're just beautiful fish. Log perch. I mean, it'd be so cool to have a tank with log perch in it, and you
So
know some other.
we had a 500-gallon tank in Arkansas at our fish lab, and we had it set up. Tim Patton and I set it up to where it was running like a pretty strong current, and we had log perch and 3 or 4 or 5 species of darters and a bunch of shiners. It was all native fish, and that was so cool.
They used to do that.
Fish tank on the planet, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, the second office I worked in at TVA was the old one of their old fish lab buildings.
Yeah.
Before we had moved in there, and they had moved to something else, they used to have some big tanks in there, and they did that. They kept them for and visitors. People could walk in off the street and to get information and see all these neat fish. And then most people were just blown away by. You mean that's in our creeks? Well, I've never seen that, and
Yeah.
it's amazing what was. And so they had all kinds of really cool fish in those tanks. That program kind of went away for a while, and then we started doing more, or they got more involved, I guess, in some public outreach stuff. And I worked a deal with with them on the side, where Norris Dam was on its 75th birthday, I think, so to speak. I believe it was 75th, and they went out and caught a lot of those fish and set those tanks up again in a portable manner so that they could tour around the valley, because at that time period a lot of the lakes and reservoirs were sort of reaching an anniversary point because they
So
all
was
started.
that when Steve had Gilly?
Steve had Gilly then, but he had Gilly even before that. They didn't take those fish; they caught new ones, and Gilly was
He
actually
was
in.
outside, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was an outside pond. We had a pond out between the office building and the courtyard of the buildings,
He
and
was an outside dog.
he was an outside dog. I should have talked about Gilly. Well, we did a little bit last week. That was such
Yeah.
a cool fish. I mean, it's just an old bluegill, and
But
it even had
that's a gorgeous fish too.
yeah. But he would, like Dave said, he would back up, he would come forward.
That might be my favorite fish ever, actually.
Well, you ate and caught a lot of them with Ken Sylvie and other times.
I just
Oh,
Well, there was a pond over there toward where you and Brenda used to live.
yeah.
I don't know if I could take you there right now or not. It was south of maybe it was north of your house. It was the other way from Crockett, from your house.
Okay.
That would have been north, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was north of your house, out there somewhere, and we used to walk half a day to get over there and take fly rods and catch bluegills. And
You know what's really cool about that?
it was amazing fishing.
I bet you could drive right up to it now with because we've developed that. It's all cool now with roads and
Oh
houses.
yeah, it's like got housing developments all around it.
It makes Mark sad. It makes me sad too. Have you been to the Tennessee Aquarium? Oh, another question. Yes, we have, Carol, but it's been a while. Um, it is set up so you can walk. Yeah, you start at the top. It's really neat the way they did that, and others may be this way too. But in that aquarium, you start at the top floor, literally, and it's the mountains, the higher streams, small streams, and the fish that live there. And then as you wind down through the building, you change watershed systems or
You're
river creek.
going you're going all the way to saltwater fish.
You go out. Well, you all go out. Yeah, they do, but you go down. Yeah, to that level. Of course, we don't have salt water here in the state, but yeah, that's what it does.
But I mean, like the aquarium in Denver and the aquarium in Salt Lake City both do the same thing. When they start up in the high mountain streams, small mountain streams with native fishes, and you end up in a shark tank at the bottom.
Yeah, it's kind of as I recall, this one, you end up down along the Mississippi River and all the way to New Orleans, kind of. So you end up with the saltwater, but you also have gators and that kind of stuff in that lower.
Yeah, and the one in Denver had a room that like you traveled through that was like the Sumatran rainforest, and it had a tiger.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was just kind of an odd. I always thought it was kind of an odd addition to the aquarium, but
That's interesting, Carol, because I wondered about that. I've been in a couple of different aquariums now, and they weren't. They were. I mean, they were mostly set up. They had native fish and stuff in them. I mean, they did talk about all those things, but they weren't necessarily set up that way. Like the one in Gatlinburg is really different from the Tennessee Aquarium in Chattanooga. Lots of interesting stuff there. Lots of cool fish. That's where that big giant skeleton of a turtle was that I showed earlier this year when Brenda and I went there to visit. And but the one in Chattanooga is really different. I mean, it was because of its location, and it is literally just off the Tennessee River. They modeled it after the whole Tennessee River system. And I don't know where it. I mean, I don't know who did that first. I don't know what aquarium did that concept first. I have no idea when it started. When somebody decided to actually do one that way, but I thought it was first time I went down there, which wasn't too long after it was built. I thought it was fascinating because of that whole thing, the way they'd set it up. I did. It's just so cool. And like I said, it is literally just off the Tennessee River, so it was kind of an easy idea, I think, for somebody to set one up that way that brought you down to the Tennessee River and then beyond, where the Tennessee ended up, and because it runs into the Ohio River, which then almost immediately runs into the Mississippi River, and so you got like 3, 4 major confluences there all together within a few hundred miles or less, and then down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico, as they said in the song. Yeah, it's cool. It's really neat. I definitely recommend it if you ever got time to spend traveling south on I-75 or something, and you go through Chattanooga. You got time, stop and see the aquarium because it is cool. Uh, we need to go back. Like I said, we hadn't been in ages, so I'd like to go back and look around again. I think they've changed a few things and added a few things, but it's pretty much the same as it was then. And I don't know how this one is set up. I don't know if it's like that, but the aquarium that's in Georgia is not associated with like the Ripley's chain, which Ripley's has a lot of their aquariums. That's what's in Gatlinburg, and they're more. I will say they're more of an entertainment thing. The one in Georgia is really. I would like to go see it too because they've got. They've got beluga whales for Christ's sakes. They sort of span the globe, and
Cool.
I'd like to go see it too. But we hadn't gotten down there to do that. Which one's Kay talking about?
Stuffed his mouth with cannonballs and powdered his behind.
Where are you reading that at? I missed that.
Who?
But you were just reading. Where you see that?
I wasn't reading nothing. I was singing that song you
Oh, you were singing that song.
put in my daggone head. I stuffed his mouth with cannonballs and powdered his behind. And when he touched the powder off, the gator lost his mind.
Yeah, that's because the cannons got too hot. I believe is how that went.
Because we went down to Mississippi.
We fired our cannons till something.
Till the British started running.
Yeah.
There wasn't not near as many as there was a while ago.
Johnny Horton sang that song originally, I believe.
Yeah, I believe you're correct.
That's a friend of mine growing up when I was in elementary school. In fact, 5 or 6 years old. I'll never forget. His parents had an album of that. And we used to play that over and over again when we were kids.
Probably had North Alaska on it.
It did. It did. That was my fact. I think that might have been the first song on the album. And I should say album because that's what it was.
I think C3PO just walked through the room.
Good morning. What did she say?
She's moving like this right now. We've been on a Star Wars kick.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, we've been watching. We watched the original and the second one last night, and we'll watch the third one tonight, which is actually like number 6 or something.
Number 6, yeah. Confusing, but I get it.
But it's confusing. We started with volume 4 instead of 1.
I never have really figured out why they did that, but they did.
I have no clue. Dude.
Maybe they thought that's a better lead into the story or something. I don't know. Maybe they hadn't written the first 3 yet. I don't know. Did you ever see? I don't know if you had the Disney Channel. I don't know if they showed it anywhere else or Disney Plus. The Mandalorian.
I haven't watched it except when you were here. When you were here, we watched like a couple episodes of it or something.
I like that program. I like that series. And actually, Brenda and I just watched another one that we hadn't seen before. And they did 2 seasons of it. And it's actually the story. If you've ever seen the movie Rogue One, which I actually thought was a really good Star Wars movie. Explained a lot of things about how they got the information to destroy the Death Star. Rogue One, the 2, what's the guy's name? Andor movie. There's 2 Andor movies. It was 2 series, two seasons of it. I really enjoyed that too. It was different than some of the other movies, but it led up to. I think the second season, I think, is probably all they'll do because it pretty much led you right up to Rogue One when Rogue One happened, which is a whole different thing. But what's led you to that movie you just mentioned, number 4, Star Wars number 4. They said that if the middle 3 did good, if George Lucas didn't get sick of it, they'd take it further. Okay. Star Wars was done that way because of the money, always about money. George didn't think the first 3 would grab the attention of. That's what I was wondering. They probably thought it was a better story to get people hooked into it, which kind of makes sense. I think the first 3, if we hadn't seen the middle 3, we might not have thought the first 3 were all that exciting. I don't know. where it might have been a little harder to get them because they're different. They're a different story or a different way of telling a story, maybe different content. I don't know. You guys know. But the Mandalorian was a good series.
I'm still a little creeped out by Jar Jar Binks.
Apparently, a lot of people were.
Gooberfish.
I hear a dog. I hear a dog close by. Or
Close
did.
by to me.
I thought I did. Did I not?
Maybe you did. I got some kind of. I got 2 grand dogs here, so I got some kind of a major disaster occurring outside the house right now.
Maybe your deer came back.
Oh, I hope not. I hope they went across the river with the horses. We're over there hanging out over there. So, but they're whoppers, man. They're like two bruisers.
Cool. That's good. Good to know they're out there.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll get a lot of. Pardon, Carol. We got our paperwork up, but a lot of breeding done this. Whenever their season kicks in, when is your rut out there? Or
in November.
Okay. Hopefully they'll get to pass those genes along well before somebody, takes a shot at them. But
our season's over before the rut starts, so we don't let people hunt during the rut here.
Well, I meant before those two. Hopefully those two get a chance to breed before anybody does.
Yeah, they'll have to poach them off my property. They've been. Caitlin and I went riding back there one day and bumped into one of them, and a smaller buck. And then this morning there were just one of them was the big one we had seen, and another big one. So hopefully they just hang out.
Well, if they're hanging out that much, they probably will. I mean, and it'll probably be a place where they can kind of hang out if somebody does start shooting at them. But you don't have a lot of. I don't know if you've got a lot of hunting right there in your immediate area anyway, do you? In that regard?
Well, we have some local kids.
Yeah, right.
Hunt up and down the river here, but yeah, we don't. My wife prefers not to let people have any fun.
Yeah, I know. Dang it.
I don't even hunt on the property here.
Well, there you have. There she has married.
I could, but I'm not. I just, I'd rather have
there she has married 2 wildlife biologists.
Yeah, exactly. And her son's like a killer.
And her son's, yeah. And he's a grizzly bear guy and a killer.
We just trapping muskrats last year. We were trapping muskrats, and she was right. Fit about that. And I'm like, good God, woman. Like, we have 1 billion of them.
Speaking of that, I hope we can get Sammy to come on some weekend. I'd love to have him on board to talk about, about
grizzly management,
about grizzly bear stuff.
Yeah.
If nothing else, he can. He can just talk about grizzly bears. I mean, heck, that's pretty exciting stuff, regardless.
Yeah, I have a lot of photographs of him with grizzly bears where he's laying down on his side with a drug bear. Looks like he's posing for the GQ magazine or something. Which I will share with the group if we.
Let's definitely do that.
On.
We got to get him on here. Nothing else, just for that reason.
I just got my copy of Henry Sledge's book about his daddy with the old breed. Eugene Sledge that was in that Peleliu and that Okinawa.
Right.
His son just wrote a book, and I just got it in the mail today. I haven't opened it yet, but
Is that a book I should be adding to my library?
is your wife on there?
I don't know. I haven't seen her in a few minutes. Say something about it, and then we'll know because she'll jump in.
Yes, I think it's a book that you should add to your library.
That's good. I'll have to be looking.
You need the old breed too if you're going to have.
I actually got to get that. I wanted to get that one anyway, but
I have a hard copy of that one, and this is supposed to be a first edition, but I don't know if it's hardbound or softbound yet. I haven't opened it. It just came out.
Is it about his dad?
So his dad's manuscript is at Auburn University, which is where he went to school and where Henry went too.
I knew they were from Alabama.
And his original manuscript is apparently in some kind of closed papers section that only the family can see them.
Wow.
So they're not available to like everybody. And he went through the original manuscript, which was like 863 pages long or some ridiculous amount, and highlighted everything that did not get published in the actual with the old breed, and wrote his own manuscript based on that with excerpts from his dad's book. And I can't wait to read it. So,
in case you don't know, just who this guy is, he was a Marine. And if you ever saw the Ken Burns, two things, I guess. If you saw the movie, Ken Burns movie, The War, which is about World War II, they talked about him because he did leave records and he was involved in the.
Well, they say he wrote the best memoir of war ever.
And then he was also featured. I don't know about. I've not seen Pacific that you talk about. It was like the Band of Brothers. Was he a character in that, or was it?
Yeah, he was a main character in it.
Okay, that's the guy he's talking about.
And if you have never seen the Pacific, you need to watch it.
Eugene
Sledgehammer.
And he
Sledge.
So just the fact that he made it through, it's amazing. But that he brought something back with him to tell is even more probably.
Well, and the fact that he like survived it with his mind intact is the most amazing thing to me, because he saw a lot of bad stuff. I got my Prime box right here.
Woohoo! I got one.
I think it's a hardbound book. I hope it's hardbound. I think I ordered it hard.
Somebody caused me to order a couple of fishing books.
From you?
Well, not from me. I got them. I received them.
Oh.
I mean, they came in a box. Well, actually, they were in different packaging, but very much like that.
I did not encourage that part.
No, Dave did. And I got to order Dave's.
Sorry, Brenda, but there's several of us.
Yeah, it's not just you. Hopefully, I have that influence on some people too.
You do. I have too many, especially YouTube subscriptions now because of you guys.
Well,
including your wife, by the way.
Yes, I know. She likes to encourage that too. but they're archaeological stuff. They're mostly educational.
I love them, but it's like,
But I
yeah,
got one.
I
I got
need
a
more
book.
stuff. I need more stuff to waste my time.
Well, we all do. But I got two books lately. Actually, I've gotten three. Anyway, two of them came in a similar package, and I honestly was concerned about getting the packaging off of them without destroying them. But one of them was like the whole inside of the package was kind of sticky, and it
Yeah.
was just like a stiff envelope kind of a thing, and it was, of course, stuck together all the way around the edges. But when I opened it, I thought the stuff was also stuck to the book cover, and I was going to be really upset. Was it hardback?
Hold on.
I saw it come out of that box. Now you can't do that.
Hold on.
I'll hold on.
But you hold on. That's the book right there.
Wow, that's a good thing. That's a thick book too. That's not bad. Well, reasonably thick. Yeah, that is a nice
It's
book.
got Eugene Sledge on the back cover right there
Right there.
with the EGA and the 1st Marine Division. And if it was only signed, but it's not, but it is a 1st edition. So there you go.
Hang on, man. I'm going to grab this one. I'll be right back. There I am. Here's one of them. This guy, I don't know if you've ever read any of this guy's stuff. Dave, he's sort of Pat McManus like. And
I have not.
Dave's been told, don't go buy one, okay? I don't want to be accused of anything. Dave's been telling me about him for years, and I just never have bought any. And we've talked about his books. One of the things, when Dave and I used to ride together a lot and covering great distances in cars and boats, we used to talk about things like that. And this was one of his favorite authors. And so I'm looking forward to reading this one. I actually ended up with two. And I had hoped they would get here before Dave was on the show so I could talk to him about it. So next time Dave's on the show, and there will be a next time. Oh, look here, Mark. You would understand something about this article. Can you see that? Well, that's like an X-ray of an elbow, and the title of that chapter is Flycaster's Elbow. I got news for him. There's also something called Flycaster's Shoulder.
That's what I was just getting ready to say. Depends on how you're whipping that.
Hang on just a minute. Let me get something else. I forgot about these. I also ordered. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. And I thought this was a good time because I'm trying to put things down on paper about our stories, our dog and pony show books, if you will. A friend of Brenda's, when she was in elementary school, I'm not sure at what point, maybe the whole time, and at least in Johnson City area, and who was married to Kent. She was Kent Maiden's first wife. You remember Kent?
Yeah.
Her name was Mary, and they split up, and she ended up living over on the Outer Banks, and she became a children's book author, and she wrote a series of books like this one, which is
that's cool.
Talking about the Lost Colony. That's her name right there, Mary Maiden. But it's a little short story for for kids, and I got it because I was wanting to see style and how she did it. And I bought a couple of them. She's written several. I'm not sure how many are in this series. And for a while, they sold these books at the Kitty Hawk, like national park sites and
Yeah,
things.
they're on the Outer Banks.
Yeah, and I think in other national park bookstores that sold books from like about different parks. I think they also carried these in those for a while. So um, I ordered a couple of them. I know there's at least 6. I think there's more than that. There may be 6 in 2 different series at least. I thought it said that on here somewhere, maybe not. Well, this one is number 3, for example, in this series. But it's characters about a dog named Taz and one of the ponies from the coastal islands, Chickapin or not Chickapin. You know what they are. Anyway, one of the ponies from out there. One of the horses or small horses or ponies.
Yes, they're north of Kitty Hawk.
Yeah, and but Outer Banks country,
I don't remember what they call that.
This is and there's some other characters. There's an owl. There's a raccoon, because of course there has to be a raccoon. Interestingly,
my oldest grandson would say raccoon.
Raccoon. Interestingly, there's a snake in almost every photo in this. Not photo, excuse me. Drawing in this book, and somebody else did her drawings. But there's a snake, but the snake doesn't seem to have a name. And this one talks about Pocahontas and some other things. I did think this is interesting. And I was actually impressed by this, that she would know this. She talks about the red wolf.
No, cool.
Which most people don't even know is a thing.
Red wolves are like on Alligator River right there, just to the west of Roanoke Island.
This book was written in '96, so when did I see the red wolves?
They would have been
about this time when they were trying to introduce them to.
They were introducing them there, which is where the Alligator River Refuge is probably that's probably going to save the red wolf.
If there's any left, and I mean that's the only place
they have them there.
Yeah, that's probably the only place there are any. They think now.
You drive down that highway from the west, from Raleigh towards Roanoke Island, through the Alligator River, and it's the only place I've ever been where there are signs up saying, "Be careful, there might be wolves on the highway."
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Now, everybody wouldn't think that's cool, but I think that's cool. I'm not sure if we've got anybody still with us. Somebody say something. The chat hadn't changed since.
Well, we might.
15 minutes or so.
We've run long, so
yeah, we got shut down here anyway.
We got way verbose today.
Yeah,
How about that? How about a hillbilly using that word?
That's a good word. I like that a lot. There's my wife, who probably just showed up,
and Miss Tina's still in there.
And Miss Tina, so that way we know Brenda didn't say anything about books. I don't even know what she'd be talking about if she did. So I found well, never mind, that can be another day. I found some more of my books that had been in a box that I've been trying to look. I mean, I knew they were here, I just didn't know where they were, if they were. I have a few boxes that still are not unpacked that I want to get on shelves, and I'm working on that now. I did some of that the other day, and I found the book about the title is Private. It was the journal written by the old guy that went in on D-Day, that jumped with the airborne in at D-Day, and he at that time gave the most graphic. When I first read this book, it told the most graphic, real life, how it happened kind of things. And by graphic, I mean the fact that they were dropping people out too short. People guys on parachutes were landing on top of other guys with parachutes, and one
They're
parachute.
going way, 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 way too fast.
Yeah, and just all kinds of things. And when I first read that, I thought, wow, I didn't know. I mean, that's and same could be said about the D-Day scenes from the Band of Brothers. I thought those were very uh, close to being correct. Anyway, all right, guys, I guess I need to shut down here. One, there's Little League Baseball starting or has already started, so I want to get in on some of that. And because I've seen there's some really good games like that. Some great softball games last week, and now the baseball guys, the boys are started, and I've seen a couple of really good. Man, it amazes me how good and how grown, adult, mature some of these ball players act on the ball field. They probably don't anywhere else, but on the ball field, I mean, they're just such good players. It's amazing. The girls and the boys. And I really enjoy watching them this time of
It'll
year.
take them far.
It might. Yeah, it
It'll
might.
take them far. Some of them.
Some of them.
I mean, we got a kid. He ain't a kid. He's a man that came out of Wyoming. Nemo is his name. And he plays for the Mets.
I've heard of him.
And he was he was a Legion ball guy. He didn't play in college, or he got drafted right out of the American Legion ball.
Oh wow, that's not easy to do.
And he's really good. There are times if the Mets are playing somebody that I don't care about, I'm always rooting for them.
Thank you, Carol. You have a great weekend too, and see you next time. And hope everything.
Sorry we bored everybody with fish.
Okay, thank you, as always, Tina, Chuck, Brenda, and anybody else that happens to be out there in the distance. So thanks for stopping by. We're going to close the smoke flaps up and go to bed and shut the fire down a little bit.
Shut the fire down and go watch some baseball.
Baseball, yeah, in the teepee. We get good reception if the cable's hooked up. Anyway, guys, thank you. Love y'all for being here. Mark.
Love you, brother.
See you next time. Talk to you in a day or two or something.
Okay.
And, see you soon. And everybody else, have a great weekend. And, again, thanks for being here. And we'll see you next time. I never know what to say when I'm signing off. I could just say the end.